Malawi Brief.
Mafunso opita kwa nduna ya zachilungamo amene ayambirira lero kubwera mukafukufuku wa ngozi ya ndege imene inapha achilima ndi anthu ena amene anali nawo ayambika. Tiyeni titsatire limodzi zotsatirazi.
Honorable Minister of Justice.
Good afternoon.
I understand and appreciate that much have been said, but just in brief, I would like to know from you what led the government of Malawi to reconsider the findings of the previous investigations. Thank you, Right Honorable Minister.
We may take another question. Mwanza Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. You, in your recommendations, you have recommended to this committee that the inquiry should extend and look at the circumstances surrounding the death of the late Raf Kasambala SC. You also extended that this committee should consider extending to delve into the circumstances surrounding the discharge of the case of the late Dr. Salus Klaus Chilima. I just want to find out from you, Honorable Minister, is it your opinion that this committee should be furnished with the documents that MDF was resisting to give to the defense team of the late SKC? Secondly, is it your opinion, or rather, do you think it is also appropriate that this committee should also establish the relationship between the president, the former president, Dr. Lazarus Makafe Chakwera, and the late vice president, Dr. Salus Klaus Chilima, prior to the tragic accident? Is it your opinion, or do you think it is something that can help this committee establish something? Because you have made recommendations that this committee should go beyond just looking at the circumstances surrounding the tragic accident, but look at other factors. Thank you very much, Chair.
You may take those two questions, and then we move to Longamudi, and then I'll come back to Nkarabe North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me thank the people of Nchewu Zones Muvai for their question. Let me also thank the people of Mwanza Central for their question. I don't take those questions lightly. In relation to the people of Nchewu Zones Muvai, the question was, what informed the government to reconsider the previous reports and findings? In my report, which I've just submitted to you, I've said the following things, which I think I should say again. That the accident or the air crash took place on 10th June 2024. It took the former president, Dr. Lazarus Makafe Chakwera, 4 months to institute a commission of inquiry. And in that commission of inquiry, the then president gave the commission 30 days within which to conclude its findings and make its recommendations or its findings. I have also said in my report that there were elections, general elections, tripartite elections, on 16th September 2025, in which the Democratic Progressive Party, under the leadership of His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, won the general elections on 16 September 2025. And on 4th October 2025, in the first address to the nation, His Excellency the President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika told the nation of Malawi that once he constitutes his cabinet and he appoints his Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, he was directing that minister to review the reports and the circumstances surrounding the air crash on 10th June 2024. I'm not aware of what motivated His Excellency the President in his first address to direct his new Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs to review, and I've not been told those reasons. However, I was directed, after being appointed Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, to undertake that assignment to review the circumstances and the reports surrounding the air crash that killed the late Vice President and 8 others at Ntungwa on 10th June 2024. So, to the people of Deza, Nchewu, Zonzi, Mvai, I just undertook the directive that the President gave me as Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I had no reason to start raising questions why Your Excellency are directing that I should be reviewing these things. As a lawyer, as a minister who is advising the President, I undertook the task, the directive, and I went to review the reports. And my review and analysis of the reports, the outcomes are the ones which I've just highlighted to this committee this morning and this afternoon, and to His Excellency, in which I recommended that my findings are that the reports that we have on the table at the moment do not bring closure to the accident that killed the late Vice President and 8 others on 10th June 2024. And there's need for more interrogation into the circumstances surrounding that air crash on 10th June 2024. Turning to the people of Mwanza Central, basically, the people of Mwanza Central are asking about my further opinions. In that I have constantly referred to the death of late Raf Kasambara, SC, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and I've also referred to the MDF case in which the late Vice President was answering corruption charges, and I've linked that one to the fact that the whole nation knows that the former Vice President, late Dr. Saulos Klaus Chilima, was discharged from that case when the MDF resisted to release the information or the documents which the former Vice President was asking for. In my opinion, I was of the view that if we are going to have closure and dig deep into the accident that involves the MDF aircraft, I was of the view, looking at the circumstances, the technical aspects that comes in the BFU report. One, the accident is happening when the aircraft is not being tracked by radar on those two trips from Mzuzu to Lilongwe and Lilongwe to Mzuzu. In my mind, I'm asking what could have happened? What could have happened to the MDF aircraft for it not to be tracked on those particular trips, leading to the crash on the 10th June 2024? Would there be possible linkages to the matters which I've raised? I have said in my report, which I've just submitted to your committee, Honorable Chair, that the circumstances of the deaths, the two deaths, if I were to call them, of late Raf Kasambara on 7th June 2024, and the deaths of the former Vice President, late Dr. Saros Kraus Chilima, and 8 others on 10th June 2024, are happening within a period of 72 hours or so. And both of them are unceremonious deaths. Would it not be proper for the nation of Malawi to know if there are any linkages between these two deaths? That was my opinion, and this is purely an opinion that Charles Mwangu holds. I don't know the terms of your reference, Honorable Chairperson, and your committee, if they will allow you to do that. If they don't, I wouldn't insist. But that was my opinion, and I didn't want to leave what I had recommended to His Excellency the President and what I was recommending for purposes of further investigation into the air crash that happened on 10th June 2025. So if you find out, ask about my opinion, the people of Mwanza Central, that was my original opinion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Chair, there is one question that has not been responded to.
The one on the relationship.
Yes.
There's a question on the relationship.
Sorry, Chair, it was not deliberate. I wrote it on the other page. There was a question of should this committee, ad hoc committee, interrogate further in the relationship between the former Vice President and the former President. That was not part of my findings. I did not go into that, and I don't want to go further into that. It was not part of my findings or my recommendations to His Excellency the President. So, Honorable Chair, I decline to comment on that one.
You proceed with, is it in Nkadabe? No, it was Mulanje Modi. Sorry, Lilongwe Modi. Then I said I would come back to Nkadabe North. In that order, please.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for your submission. I have several questions which I just want to get some verification. I need you to confirm. In your opening statement, Honorable Minister, you said you are not a witness of facts. However, in the submission, there are some facts that you have put forward to this committee. So I want some verification on those ones. So my first question, which I want you to verify because you brought it as a fact, are you sure, Honorable Minister, that when MDF and police officers took over the search and rescue, then the bodies were found 3 hours, within 3 hours they were found? That's what you said. So I want you to confirm to me that this is the fact that you hold. The second question is, when you were making these recommendations to the President and then they came to Parliament, did you make any attempt to verify some of the questions with technocrats, for example, civil aviation, and I'm bringing this question because of the two critical issues that you raised in your questions that you wish this committee to look into. The issue of radar tracking capability. You have raised a critical question that there was no radar tracking. Did you find out about the radar tracking capability that Malawi has so that that question could become a recommendation to the president? And the second one is on you raised actually a very critical question on the search and rescue, that it started 4 hours after. And you made an emphasis on that. And within your submission, you also mentioned that the aircraft had about 4 hours endurance on fuel. So was it a question that you still want us to look into it, that the aircraft had 4 hours fuel endurance, and then the search and rescue started after 4 hours? Because I think it was a question that you wanted this committee to look into, that it was delayed. To some extent, it was a delayed search and rescue. It took 4 hours. However, the aircraft also had 4 hours endurance of fuel. So is it something that you would, was it unsatisfactory to you that you wish the committee to look into? And the third question is on the issue of, you have given us an opinion on the connection between MDF, the corruption charges, and do you have any information that can help this committee to investigate on this opinion that you have on the connection? So do you have any information that can help us on that one? And the fourth one is on I want you to also verify, because it was also a critical question you raised on the delegation on the 10th. Would you verify and confirm to the committee if indeed the president delegated to the vice president to go and attend on his behalf the funeral of late Kasambala? You mentioned that there was a delegation, so I want us to get those facts as well. The last one is on the heights. I think you mentioned in your first, when you were making your area submission on the initial, or in the initial report of BFU, you asked the committee to pay attention to the heights at which the aircraft was flying. What is your analysis of the heights that you would want this committee to look into? Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
I think there are 6 questions there. So maybe we can take another one from Nkatabe North so that you answer them at once.
Thank you, Chair. To give the people of Nkatabe North to ask only one question to the Minister. Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my question comes to your explanation about the 2 reports of MDF and aviation report that you haven't had a time to read them. So my question comes that these reports marked confidential, and what constitutional basis are they using that these reports are marked as confidential? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, you can take those questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee. Without treating the last question as being simple, don't have that impression the people of Nkatabe North. I will start with your question. Not that I'm underrating your question, but let me start with that question. Honorable Chair, Let me thank the people of Katabe Central for their questions, the people of Lilongwe Moody, and the people of, I think that will be all. Thank you very much. Let me start with the Honorable Chair, let me start with Katabe North. My understanding of the law, there is a law that restricts testifying and giving evidence on matters of naval, civil aviation, especially the military, unless the president gives consent that people who are involved or are potential witnesses can testify on those matters. Let me also state, Honorable Chair, as I said when I started, that most of the things I was paraphrasing. That's why I've given my written report so that you can read word for word. That in my analysis of the three reports which I analyzed, I was informed by the various legal instruments that guided me. The Constitution of Malawi, the Commission of Inquiry Act, the Aviation Act, and the Convention on the International Civil Aviation, Convention on International Civil Aviation, and other legal instruments. I believe that the two reports, the Civil Aviation Report was issued because the aircraft, the Donia, was flying in the airspace of Malawi. However, you read in my report that this aircraft was a state aircraft. It was a military aircraft. And the law that I have come across, and I know, military aircraft or state aircrafts, what are called state aircrafts, are not subject to be regulated by civil aviation. However, they operate within the space controlled by civil aviation. That's why the civil aviation is issuing its report. Otherwise, this is a military aircraft, a state aircraft, which is subject to or regulated by other laws and not necessarily civil aviation regulations. I'm saying this deliberately to respond to Katabe North. Secondly, the MDF report, again, is talking, in my opinion, it's a report issued on their aircraft. And these are matters of naval and security. That's why it was marked confidential. At that point, I'm not sure if any of the people who issued the MDF report and the Civil Aviation report had ever requested consent from His Excellency the President, Dr. Arazdas Chakwera, to testify. Without the consent of the President of the country, no one is allowed to testify on matters of naval. That's the law that I understand. And I would want to advise this committee that should you wish to call for witnesses who are going to touch on matters of naval from the military, you must ask those people to request for consent from His Excellency the President under the law. In that framework, therefore, my thinking is that when state actors were resisting to provide the aviation report and the MDF report, they were trying to protect themselves, that they have got no consent, probably, from the state president to testify on those matters. Therefore, they would be exposed to criminal prosecution for testifying without the consent of the president. That's my understanding. As a result, Honorable Chairperson, I was not being reckless when I said I should not insist on these reports. I therefore proceeded only on the basis of the reports which I was privy to or which I were given to me. I believe that that could be the reason why these two reports were marked, quote unquote, confidential, because of the law that regulates them and how those who issue those reports can testify on those matters by law. I hope that makes its area for clearer for Katabe North. Let me turn to the people of Lilongwe Moody. Lilongwe Moody had a mouthful of questions. Thank you for those questions. I hope I will be able to tackle them one by one. Some of them were subsets of the main question. The first one was I said that I'm not a witness for facts. Yet, according to the people, understanding of the people of Lilongwe Moody, they believe that I'm stating facts. Yet I had said that I'm not a witness for facts. Let me confirm, Honorable Chair, that I'm not a witness for facts. I repeat that one, I'm not a witness of facts. However, any allusion to factual matters, I am at all times trying to quote the sources which lead me to those facts. And if you read my report, I'll be quoting pages of the various reports. I'm stating these facts on the basis of this page of the report. I'm stating these facts as a factual finding on the basis of these reports. So if wherever, Honorable Chair and members, wherever I alluded to factual matters, I'm supporting them, substantiating them with the factual findings either in the BFU or in the Commission of Inquiry report that I read. They are not facts which I can testify that I saw. I thought there should be that distinction. Whenever I'm saying, as a matter of fact, this is what happened, according to what I've read, it doesn't mean that I'm the one who saw the aircraft departing at 17 minutes or 16 minutes past 9 on 10 June 2024. It's a matter of fact which I've read, not that I saw the aircraft departing. Or when I say, as a matter of fact, they say the police, senior police officers took over the lead of the search on 9 o'clock. And then at 11:35 that morning, on 11th June, they discovered the wreckage and the bodies. It doesn't mean that I was there and I saw them taking over. I'm referring to the facts as they have been found in the various reports which I'm analyzing. I hope, Chairperson, I should be very clear on those ones. I have got no intention of misleading this committee, and I had no intention of misleading His Excellency the President on the factual matters. The factual matters that I'm alluding to are the ones which I've extracted from the various reports. There was a question as to whether when making recommendations, I verified with the technical experts, especially civil aviation, especially on the issue of the radar capability in Malawi. I said, Honorable Chair, that the person that I talked to before I concluded my analysis, because of the technical aspect, was the then Director General of Civil Aviation. I called him to my office. We had if I go to back to my notes, I don't have the diary which I was writing that day with me here, but I had a detailed discussion with him so that I should understand the technical aspects. Because some of the things which I was reading in both the BFU report as well as the Commission of Inquiry reports, there are some technical things which I didn't know. So I had to verify, what does this mean? When you say AGL, what is AGL? When you say 20 nautical miles, what are those things? I had to understand before I advised the President. So I can confirm to you, people of Lilongwe Moody, that I attempted in my capacity as Minister of Justice, being a layperson in civil aviation matters and the naval technology that I attempted to get to the experts who know these things. So I can verify that I attempted to seek the opinion of the expert and help of the expert for me to understand the technical aspects of these reports which I was reading. As to the truth about the Hayats, these ones you can get from the BFU report. That's why I said, the Honorable Chair, when I started, that the ones that I'm going to go into detail in terms of factual background is the BFU. And I never went into the factual background in the other reports, but I insisted on the BFU. It's the BFU which can give you a picture of exactly what was happening, because they're using the GPS to track the movement of the aircraft once it departed up to the point of impact. As a result, I can only verify the heights. For me, as a layperson, in my opinion, these heights were not making sense. Because at one point you find that the aircraft, for example, Honorable Chair, the aircraft is recommended to fly at around 7,000. For whatever reasons, I have got no idea. You can read for yourselves in the reports which I've submitted. It starts changing the heights, fluctuating as high as 8,600 feet above sea level. It goes down as low as 5,300 in terms of AGL, which is above ground level. Above ground level, it goes as low as 185 feet above ground level, which is, in my opinion, in my little understanding of heights, is just too close to the ground. And it doesn't make sense to me why a crew would be embarking on those maneuvers. And I said, in my opinion, that the Commission of Inquiry should have delved deeper in those kind of maneuvers and try to understand why could the crew be embarking those maneuvers. When it comes to search and rescue, yes, I have referred to certain time frames that the search and rescue started about 4 hours after departure. Mind you, these facts, honorable members for Lilongwe Moody, they are not facts that I am creating. They are facts which are in the Commission of Inquiry report. It's very detailed in terms of the search and rescue. The BFU report does not really talk much about the search and rescue. It's the Commission of Inquiry report which details the launch, initiation, and closure of the search and rescue mission. And it says that the search and rescue started around 11:35. Or if my facts are correct, since I've handed over the report, but from my reading, it starts about 4 hours after the aircraft has departed. I'm insisting on that one. The search and rescue is starting 4 hours after the aircraft has departed. Yet, that aircraft, according to what I've read, had endurance for fuel for about 4 hours only, not more than that. Whoever was in control at that time, whoever was making these decisions at any level, where did they expect this aircraft to be? To be in the air? Are you sure it should be in the air 4 hours, yet it had the fuel endurance for 4 hours? Those are the questions which I'm raising, that when the Commission of Inquiry was making its investigations in interrogating the witnesses, I believe that they should have gone deeper to understand these aspects of this accident, of this crash, and not just gloss over certain factors or certain facts. There was a question about the opinion on the MDF and any information that I may have as Minister of Justice. I believe that any Malawian who was alert to the matters which were happening surrounding the first Vice President, late Saros Chilima, in terms of his corruption cases at the Criminal Division of the High Court of Malawi, will be very much aware of what happened there. One, that he had corruption charges against him, and in his defense, these are public records. You can go to the case and find out. The judiciary will give you those kind of records leading to the discharge by Justice Redson Kapindo. That in his defense, the late Vice President said, I can't defend myself unless you give me documents from the MDF. And the MDF was saying, we cannot give you these things. These are matters of national security. And the case had ended up in a discharge. In my opinion, I'm saying, what could be the connection between that tug of war which took place there and the fact that subsequently the Vice President dies with his entourage in an MDF aircraft? As a Malawian, I'm concerned. I thought that the Commission of Inquiry, any sensible Commission of Inquiry, should be able to be alert to those facts and deal with them conclusively. In the question of delegation, the delegation that happened on the honorable member for Lilongwe Moody and your constituents, you need to take time to go to the Commission of Inquiry report on the delegation. It's very detailed. There was a bit of confusion. If you read the report as to who was going to represent the former president, Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, at the funeral of Red Raf Kasambara. Mind you, the vice president that just arrived from a foreign trip was in South Korea, somewhere there. You go through the report, and there was a bit of confusion until late in the night, if not in the morning on the 10th, when it was resolved. I think the then SPC testified to the Commission of Inquiry on the delegation. Pay particular attention to what the then SPC, Madam Colleen Zamba, said to the Commission on the delegation. At first, the impression given was the Vice President, and from the party structures in MCP, they thought it was the Vice President for the party, not the Vice President of the country. You read it very clear there. And then later on, it was clarified that no. His Excellency wants the Vice President of the country, not the Vice President of the party, which was then, I think, Honorable Harem Kandavire or somebody else in the north. Is that okay? So there's that kind of, but conclusively, the report of the Commission of Inquiry concluded that actually the senior government official delegated by His Excellency the President finally was the Vice President. And because of that, there was a directive that the aircraft should come from Zuzu and pick him from here with his entourage to go to Katabe to represent. So in my analysis of the report, the mourners on 10th June 2024 at Nkatabe, they were waiting for the state vice president to be the delegate of His Excellency, the former president, at that funeral. Nobody else. And I am saying that if you look at the delegation and what happens at 10 o'clock at Nkatabe, then you raise questions. You are expecting the whole vice president of the country, who is representing the president, at this funeral? who is supposed to arrive in Mzuzu at Mzuzu Airport at 2 minutes past 10. And is supposed to drive from Mzuzu to Nkatabe, a minimum, in my opinion, of 35 minutes. Why should somebody at that funeral, a senior government official, whoever it was, telling the mourners at 10 o'clock that the vice president has been delayed? Therefore, let's start this funeral ceremony. To me, Honorable Chair, it doesn't make sense on the delegation aspect. Therefore, I'm saying investigate further. What could have happened? Mind you, if you go to the BFU report, interim as well as the final report, the aircraft is impacting the ground at 16 minutes past 10. Yet at 10 o'clock, somebody has already declared that the president will not arrive. The vice president will not arrive. Let's start this funeral. This is coming from the Commission on Inquiry report, nowhere else. And as Minister of Justice, you want me to have a look at that and gloss over it? I don't think so. So in terms of delegation, the people of Lilongwe Moody, that's why I came to the conclusion and recommendation to His Excellency the President that these are matters which should be investigated further.